Have you ever wondered what would happen if you simply disappeared from your cabin in the middle of the night? No one would hear your cries. The cameras would accidentally turn off, and 2 hours later, the steward would clean your room until it sparkled, destroying every last trace of your existence. Welcome to a world where laws don't apply. The ocean knows how to keep secrets, and disappearances on cruise ships are among the most frightening because they occur in a closed, seemingly safe space. Here are 3 famous and chilling cases that still haunt investigators. Translated with deepl.com. One. Bloody Honeymoon, George Smith IV, 2005. This story reads like the beginning of a thriller. 26-year-old George Smith and his young wife Jennifer celebrated their wedding on the luxurious cruise ship Brilliance of the Seas. What happened? After a night at the casino and bars, the couple returned to their cabin. In the early hours of the morning, neighbors heard the sounds of a struggle and loud voices. At 4 a.m., Jennifer was found asleep in a hallway at the other end of the ship. She had no memory of how she got there. George himself was nowhere to be found. Evidence. A large bloodstain was found on the white canopy of the deck below the Smiths' cabin. FBI investigators determined that George had either fallen or been thrown overboard. Mystery. 4 men with whom George had been drinking that night were involved in the case. Suspicions later arose that the case was linked to criminal organizations, but no charges were ever brought. The body has not been found. Two. Too Many Secrets. Disney. Rebecca Coriam, 2011. Rebecca worked as a children's entertainer on the Disney Wonder cruise ship. She was cheerful and loved by her colleagues until she vanished into thin air in an instant. Last seen. At 5:45 a.m., a camera captured her in the crew corridor. She was talking on an internal phone, looked extremely upset, and was wearing men's clothing that was clearly not her size. After hanging up, she walked toward the deck and disappeared. Strange facts. Rebecca's family is convinced that Disney is hiding the truth. Damage was found on her personal belongings, and one of the flip-flops found on the deck was clearly not her size. The official version is that she was washed away by an accidental wave, but the sea was completely calm that morning. Three. The disappearance that went unnoticed. Merrian Carver, 2004. This case is an example of how corporate bureaucracy can turn a tragedy into an unsolvable mystery. 40-year-old Merrian went on a cruise to Alaska alone. Ignored. On the second day of the cruise, a steward noticed that Merrian was not sleeping in her cabin and that her bed had not been made. He reported this to his superiors, but they told him to just keep cleaning. For 5 days, the cabin was empty, and Merrian's belongings remained untouched. The end. When the ship returned to port, the staff simply packed her belongings and sent them to storage. The family only learned of her disappearance a week later, when Merrian did not return home. By that time, the CCTV recordings had been erased, and the cabin had been thoroughly cleaned with chemicals. The Carver family pushed for a law, the Cruise Vessel Security and Safety Act, that makes cruise ships report missing people right away. All these cases have one frightening detail in common: jurisdiction. On the high seas, the laws of your home country often do not apply. Ships sail under flags of convenience, such as the Bahamas or Panama, and investigations are conducted by the local authorities of these countries, who often have neither the resources nor the desire to damage the reputation of cruise giants. The world of cruise ships is a legal, looking-glass world. When you step on board, you effectively leave the territory of your country and find yourself in a space where the laws work very differently. These are the main reasons why cruise ships are called the perfect place for crime. Most of the world's largest cruise ships are owned by American companies, but they are registered in tiny countries such as the Bahamas, Panama, Bermuda, or Liberia. This is done to avoid taxes, but there is also a dark side to it. Who's police? If a murder occurs on a ship flying the Bahamian flag in neutral waters, the investigation must be conducted by the Bahamian police. Reality. A small island nation may not have the resources to send detectives to the other side of the world. As a result, the crime scene is only examined days or even weeks later when the ship returns to port. In criminalistics, there is the concept of the golden hour, the first 60 minutes after a crime, when the evidence is still fresh. On a ship, this hour works against the victim. Conflict of interest. The ship's security service is not the police. They are hired employees whose main task is to protect the reputation of the cruise company. Cleaning as evidence destruction. Stewards are trained to maintain perfect cleanliness. As in the case of Merrian Carver, the cabin can be cleaned to a shine with strong chemicals before the captain is officially notified of the disappearance. Any DNA traces disappear in the chlorine fumes. The ocean is the perfect accomplice. This is the most frightening and prosaic detail. No body, no case. If a person falls overboard at a speed of 20 knots, about 37 kilometers per hour, it is almost impossible to find them in the ocean at night. Without a body, the investigation often reaches a dead end, attributing everything to an accident or suicide in order to close the case. Fall trajectory. Cameras on cruise ships are mainly focused on public areas, bars, corridors, but they rarely cover the outside of the ship. All a killer needs to know is the blind spot to carry out their plan. Specific laws. Cruise Vessel Security and Safety Act. Only in 2010, largely thanks to the efforts of the families of the missing, did the U.S. pass a law requiring captains to immediately report serious crimes to the FBI if the ship calls at U.S. ports. But there is a loophole. If a liner is sailing on a route in Europe or Asia and does not touch U.S. shores, this law does not apply to it. The families of victims have to spend years litigating with corporations whose headquarters are protected by a complex network of international treaties. How to protect yourself on a cruise. Tips from security experts. Never rely on cabin locks. The crew, from waiters to mechanics, have master keys. Use the internal latch when you are inside. Keep your distance from staff. As the Amy Bradley case showed, excessive friendliness from crew members can sometimes have ulterior motives. GPS on watches. Modern smartwatches with tracking enabled may be the only way to prove exactly where in the ocean a person left the ship. The buddy rule. Never leave a drunk friend or relative alone to get some fresh air on deck.